Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Taoiseach. First of all, what I wish to bring to the floor of the House today is the government decision on the medical advice to keep our pubs closed until the 10th of August. I really think this is a retrograde step. I think our publicans, our hard-working publicans, and very importantly, their customers, are being treated very unfairly. At the beginning, in the interest of keeping everything proper and correct, I wish to obviously declare that I'm a connected person to a person who owns a pub. And I believe that our public houses have served us very well back over the years. I believe that the Vintners Association are a very responsible organisation representing very responsible small business people who were very much looking forward to, on the government's word, opening next Monday. Remember what you have done to them, Taoiseach. Their pubs are now stocked. Work rosters have been organised. People have organised babysitters. They're ready to open their doors and turn on their lights. And last night, you pulled the rug out from underneath them. Now, I want to look at the reasons why. If you look at what NPHET are saying, they are saying they've looked internationally at what has happened in public houses throughout the rest of the world, and they're just saying when they opened, there was a spike or an increase in the cases of the virus. But we're missing one very important point here. We've always said that the Irish pubs are unique. Our country pubs are unique. They're catering for smaller groups of people. They know their customers. And all they wanted to do was open up in a small way that the local people could come in from the countryside and have a drink. You must remember there's an awful difference between Dame Lane and Ballinskilligs, or between Dame Lane and Portmagee, or any other part of the county that I represent. And what my point is, that I think you have really missed the bigger picture here, in that by opening these pubs, you would not, absolutely would not have increased the occurrences of the virus. Because can I ask you this question, Taoiseach, and on the record I would like for you to explain to me this. What is the difference between a person inside in a public house with a pint of Guinness in this hand and a toasted cheese sandwich in this hand, and a person inside in another pub with a pint of Guinness and no toasted cheese sandwich? Could you please give me the medical, you are a doctor, could you please explain to me why that poses a public health danger to that person drinking that pint and eating that sandwich or not? Actually, it is a crazy decision by the government. I really feel very bad, and I wanted today, on behalf of every publican, be he a man or a woman or a younger person that was in charge of a pub that was looking forward to opening next Monday, I want to tell you that they are extremely angry about the way they've been treated by the government. And these are responsible people. These are people who are more interested in public health than anyone else, because remember, they've been minding people's health for many, many years, because they're in charge of what I would call well-run public houses.
Thank you,
where they know their customers and they wanted to mind them, and they were going to mind them next Monday, but now you've pulled the rug out from underneath.
Thank you very much, Deputy. Taoiseach.
Thanks. Thanks, Deputy. Look, I can understand what a blow and what a hammer blow this news is for publicans, for people who run pubs, nightclubs, other venues who had expected and had hoped that they would be able to open next Monday. And I don't think I'm the only person in this House who is looking forward to Freedom Pints next week. But unfortunately, that isn't possible, and it isn't possible for a good reason. And that reason is that the incidence of the virus in Ireland has increased. It's still very low, roughly 20 cases a day, 4 per 100,000, the 8th or 9th lowest out of 31 countries in Europe. But the trajectory was a matter of concern. It was going in the wrong direction. And that has not been largely due to international travel, despite all the focus on it. It's been 90% due to our own behaviours, people in close contact with each other in confined indoor spaces, breathing on each other, coughing on each other, touching each other. And as a result of that, we've seen a number of clusters, often linked to house parties and linked to social engagements. And that's a matter of concern. And that's why NPHET gave government the advice it did, and government acted on that, which was to defer the opening of pubs and nightclubs at least until the 10th of August. And then to bring in some new rules around house parties as well. And that is to say that you shouldn't invite more than 10 people to your house from no more than 4 households. And that is the advice. And we know this from all over the world and from China and from Asia, that actually it's not outdoor gatherings, for example, like what happened in Dame Lane, which shouldn't have happened, where the virus spreads. It's actually in indoor, small, confined spaces with 10 and 15 people passing it to each other through close contact and being together for a prolonged period of time. And that is house parties. That is small pubs, unfortunately. And that is the truth of it. And it's also potentially restaurants as well, if restaurants act as if they are pubs and concentrate more on selling alcohol rather than people having their meal, a bit of alcohol and getting out within an hour and a half.
Deputy Healy-Rae.
Thank you very much, Taoiseach. What you have done now is you've created another problem. These small businesses that were looking forward to standing on their own legs next Monday and opening their doors, now they're going to be faced with the financial burden of another 25 days with their doors closed. So what I will be asking you now, Taoiseach, is what proposals have you in government? And I'm not talking about loans, I'm talking about grants and substantial assistance to be made available to these businesses to allow them to carry on their businesses when you eventually decide to let them open. Now you're saying the 10th of August, and what I've got many calls late into last night and very early this morning, people saying, well, how sure are we now that they're actually going to allow us, because they've broken their word to us already. You raised their hopes, which was a horrible thing to do. And the message that has gone out now around the world is you can come in from a hot spot, but you can't have a hot drop, because you've left our doors closed. And I think it's a poor decision. And if I thought that medically it was a good idea, of course I'd be behind it, but I'm not. And finally, what has to be said is, we now, particularly in rural Ireland, we feel as though we are being blamed and getting the brunt of the anger that government had when they saw what went on in Dames Lane.
Thank you, Deputy.
And any decisions that you make with regard to house parties, we'd welcome anything like that, anything that would control that sort of nonsense. But please, for God's sake, recognise the fact that our publicans are responsible people who run good houses.
Now the time is up. Taoiseach, to conclude on this matter.
Thanks. Thanks very much, Deputy. And I've no doubt that the vast majority of publicans in our country are responsible people and people who want to open their businesses, and I want their businesses to open too. But I do need to be clear. What we're saying is that pubs and nightclubs will not open any sooner than the 10th of August. We're not saying they will open on the 10th of August. We're saying they will open no sooner than the 10th of August, and it will depend on the numbers and on how the virus behaves, to use Tony Hoolan's term, between now and then. And when we published the plan, and I was the one who published it, the Taoiseach at the time, to reopen business and society, we made it very clear on day one that this was a plan that could be accelerated if things were going in the right direction, could be paused if things were going offline, and reversed if needed be. And we're always upfront about that from day one. In terms of the help that we can offer pubs to open when they do reopen, the wage subsidy scheme is in place and we intend to extend that. They don't have to pay commercial rates, and we're looking at whether we can extend that too, and they will benefit from the Restart Grant. And I'm looking at whether we can make that Restart Grant better and more attractive, particularly for those who need it the most, which are the hospitality sector, including our pubs.